I'm Don Mooers, welcoming you to Montgomery Week in Review. Metrorail is on the verge of beginning its year-long repair program of the system. Brian Karem, executive editor of the Sentinel newspapers, has the details of what we in Montgomery County can expect with our Metrorail throughout the metropolitan area. Washington Post editorial praising the Teachers Union, the Montgomery County Educational Association, was a change from its usual editorials concerning the union. Jane Winter, who comments on a regular basis for this program, is here to report. The mental health courts in Montgomery County are on track to provide a new venue for defendants who come into the judicial system with mental health issues. Phil Andrews from the state's attorney's office will bring us up to date on this important thing. The League of Women Voters is well known for its well-run candidates forums, and the Montgomery and the Maryland League is no exception to this rule. Ralph Watkins from the League of Women Voters of Maryland has this story and so much more. Brian, welcome back.
Don, thanks.
So Metro ready to go into its
Never ready to go anywhere, but okay. Metro has its problems. Starting in August, there'll be,
it's already started in many ways.
Yeah, but the big stuff starts beginning in August on the red line, single tracking, multiple delays, the line closing, kind of like right now. But
well, I know this weekend because I was on yesterday and it was delayed getting to a meeting because it was single tracking Judiciary Square to Union Station coming out of nowhere. But they were announcing that this weekend starts the midnight. No more late night Metro.
No more late night Metro, which is, I guess, I could make a comment. I won't. But the big problem about Metro is once these start, they say in a year most of them will be done. But the disruption of the transportation for people going to and from work and people late night, for older people who have are set in their minds about ways to go, they'll flock back to the Metro afterwards. What they really risk losing are those who are new to the area. Younger people will find other ways, such as Uber or Lyft, to get to where they want to go. And there are some estimates I've seen that that the traffic on the Metro won't be back to pre-problem metros for maybe 5 years.
Sentinel and other newspapers in this.
There are no other newspapers.
There are no other newspapers.
Just us.
Just you guys. But the media. What's the role of the media going to be through this process? Is it going to be that Metro? You said these things. You got to stay on track.
We got to hold their feet to the fire. The problem is, too many cooks spoil the broth. How many different government entities oversee the Metro? I mean, and we spoke with Chris Van Hollen last week about the federal role in it. But you've got Virginia, you've got Montgomery County, you've got the state of Maryland, you've got PG. And all of these people seem to have a different idea of what they want to give to the Metro and what the Metro should do for them. And none of them agree with one another. So finding management in Metro who can stand up to that, hopefully we have that now. But the problem with Metro is not going to go away in a year. It's not going to go away in 2. It's a 5-year process at least.
Well, and within the Metro system, I mean, there could be, you could talk about, okay, we don't have enough money to do these repairs, but people talk about a whole culture that's there. And so that's at so many layers. So what's being done to address that?
Now, Brian, before you start, people can go to a website and
www.thesentinel.com, where we were recently honored as the Maryland-Delaware District of Columbia Press Association's News Organization of the Year. So,
congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations on that. All right, get back to the answer question, will you?
You can only burst into flames so many times. You can only have doors open at 50 miles an hour and have that on YouTube so many times. People die, derailments before there's no confidence. And so your point is well made, and the problem is what will be done, and nobody at this point really is sure what's going to be done. We have hopes. Everyone has hopes, and what our role is going to be holding their feet to the fire and make sure they do what they say they're going to do. Of course, when you have to, and part of the cultural problem at Metro is that every time, and it's not just us, it's anybody who asks a question of Metro, their standard policy is to evade answering the question.
But let's talk about
that's what they do.
We've got a former county council member, former county council president.
He knows well as I do.
And, I think that just from Maryland, you've got completely different thoughts about what Metro should be from the state of Maryland, which is Baltimore-centric for the most part, from Montgomery County and from Prince George's County, which hopefully have similar things. But I would be interested to know, like, how do you resolve those kinds of things?
Well, one thing, I'm glad that Maryland, rather than Metro, will be running the Purple Line.
Yeah, that's right.
That looks like a really good decision, and a better decision every day. Now, of course, it's one of its purposes to connect the spokes of the Metro, but the fact that Maryland will be running it gives me
and that's
some
because
comfort.
it's wholly in the state of Maryland.
Right, it
That's, the problem is, like, too many cooks spoil the broth, and the idea in Metro that they, for years, they sunk a lot of money in the beginning. It was a state-of-the-art system, and then everybody ignored it, thinking it would take care of itself. And now it's falling apart, and nobody wants to answer the question. Just to get, for example, we last week tried to get crime statistics. How many crimes were at certain Metro stations
Right.
on the Red Line? Readily available. Shouldn't be that hard. Punch of the button, you can pull it up on a computer if you have the right app and you're sitting in the
Are
office.
there no cards?
And and they want us to follow FOIA. They don't want to answer the question, what type of crimes? Well, this one really isn't a crime. This one is a crime. Garbage.
Well, Metro withholding the rape that occurred.
Yeah, that's
on the Metro.
what prompted they
Yeah.
withhold the rape. They withhold when they have doors opening. People are supplying those on YouTube. I get people sending me videos going, look what happened to me on the Metro. My own wife was stuck in a tunnel for 45 minutes going to work on the Red Line. And they came to her and told her if they wanted to get out and walk around, and she's going, you can't get out and walk around in a tunnel? That's nuts. I mean, they deny the problems and then obfuscate the facts, and their standard way of operating is to deny, and hope it goes away.
Brian,
Well,
we got
but do you think that
40 seconds left.
Do you think that this new maintenance plan and is progress?
It is progress because at least they admit they have a problem and they're trying to fix it, but I think they're being overly generous in the amount of time it's going to take to bring that system back to where it should be.
Does it matter at all that from our reports that we're hearing from around the country, every other metro system, similar metro systems, going through the same kind of nonsense?
Yeah, but you know what? Go to Philadelphia, go to New York, right there.
They're running.
Right there. They may not look or smell real great, but they run on time and they don't fall apart and burst into flames. I'd be happy if that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They need more stable funding, but they're going to have to improve their operations before they get the public confidence.
The final note on that, I'll
Real
remind
quick,
you this.
final
The
word.
last time we had a problem on the Metro, they said, well, it wasn't an arcing incident, so you'll be happy. Well, what was the problem? Part of their brand new car fell apart.
Right. There we go. Well, made in Italy. What do you expect? Jane, here you go. We're back.
Yes.
So the issue, and thank you, Brian, by
Sure.
the way.
Thank you,
Great
Don.
story. Teachers Union, Washington Post, it's never been a happy marriage. Are they now fully aligned together?
I
Why don't you
don't.
tell us the story? Give us
Okay,
a,
well,
give us
so
a background.
yesterday there was an editorial in the Post that. Okay.
If it weren't
I'm
just-
sorry, go ahead.
That's that the Post was praising the teachers union and saying that they hope that these, what's been going on in the budget process this year is a signal of like a new relationship between the union and the county council or whatever. And basically what happened is that there was actually for all the county employees, not just the
Right.
school system employees, there was a substantial raise in this year's budget, and so the council said that they are willing to fund increases in spending, but only if the raises were all, shrunk somewhat.
Okay.
And money went into reducing class size and some
Okay, so some more personnel as opposed to more money for
Right.
the existing personnel.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So that the Post was saying that they hope this was ushering in a new era,
So
et
it's
cetera.
so pretty much snide on the part
Yes,
of the Post.
I
for
was
the
going to
most part.
say it's like it's praising you, but by basically bringing up everything that they've ever chewed you out over.
Now, can I boo the Post now?
Yes, you can do the Post now. I actually was thinking during your Metro story that it's interesting because, in terms of all of the transit associations or authorities in the Metro area, Metro WMATA employees are the highest paid and have the highest rates, and the Post rarely comments on that.
I wonder
and
why
how
that
that has contributed to,
The problems.
lack of funding, et cetera. But that's a different question.
Where does this go from here? Does the teachers union say, "Oh my gosh, we blew it"? If the Post is praising us for caving, do we need to get back? I mean,
I actually
where do we go
don't
from here?
think that the teachers union places any weight or any value on the Post editorial. So I don't really think that's going to have an impact in that way. But I do think that it is just kind of a cynical thing. I mean, I've found over the years the Washington Post editorials regarding whether it's the school board, the school system, the superintendent, the relationship, they're all over the place. They're trashing
The
somebody.
consistency doesn't seem to be there.
Yes,
does it?
there's no consistency, but I do think that it does raise a point, because I think that the leadership of the teachers union this year, Christopher Lloyd, he was really the one who brought this, who kind of made this happen. And it is a real question as to whether.
Can we go from here a little bit just into this? There's some incidents also the Post reported on, and Sentinel and others, all about.
But we did it right.
Well, there's an issue about in BCC about drinking and a principal decision, and then overturned by the acting superintendent. What was that story?
Well, that story was that some students were caught, I think, drinking, not at school, but at an activity, and so months ago, and so that they were banned from the graduation ceremony.
Okay.
And so there was some appeals on the part of the parents, and so the interim superintendent, Mr. Bowers, he overruled them, and I believe he was saying that it was something about, like a technical due process kind of a thing. A reason why.
What does it say? I mean, we've had so much effort. I know the state's attorney. I know former members of the county council who continue to do great work in our community. There's a lot in that, about drinking and driving. What does this say to us
well,
about?
to me, I honestly don't know all the background details, but
Well,
I
part
think
of that came from the Wooten. That was what that thing that came out of BCC came because of the death that occurred at Wooten High School with the football team members last summer, and the drinking that was provided by a parent at a party. So the school system has kind of buckled down and reacted tightly to it, afraid of the backlash from being too inviting for that, and then not being inviting. It's a fine line to walk.
Whether the superintendent overruled it on technical grounds, it still sends a terrible message about the seriousness of drinking and driving and connection to
it does, but it also,
history and
I'd say the same thing to anybody if it was, the police department or, state's attorney's office. Okay, if somebody gets off because you made a mistake, I mean, you got to do things the right way.
We got 30 seconds.
And that's.
Yeah.
What kind of questions should voters be asking? We had a couple of Board of Education seats coming up. I mean, are there policies that need to change?
About 10 seconds. You gotta name one
Well,
policy.
there hasn't. I think that there really hasn't been enough looking at the recent changes in the grading policy and high school final exams that have been like done deals, but those are going to have huge implications.
And that's going to be a huge story for a future show.
Big
Thank you
issues
very
for the
much.
Board of Education candidates.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. We'll be back after these messages. And we're back. Phil Andrews,
Good to see you.
it's quite always to have you here.
Thank you.
Magda says hello, by the way.
Oh.
She's one of your biggest fans.
Say hello.
So we're talking about mental health courts. We had talked about these some time ago, earlier show.
Right.
Tell us where they are now, because you were just talking about them back then. Are we ready? Are they opened yet? What's going on?
They're in the pipeline, and they're in response to a mental health crisis, which has been hitting the criminal justice system now for years, but growing steadily worse. Ever since deinstitutionalization, there's been a substantial shrinking in the number of beds available, public beds available for people with severe mental illness. And the hope was that money would follow the deinstitutionalization and that people could live independently in communities. But the money didn't follow it in many cases. We saw an increase in homelessness. We saw people get in trouble with the law, mainly minor offenses. And so we have an increase, and we've had a steady increase in recent years that's become dramatic in the number of people who are arrested who need immediate mental health care. It's more than doubled in the last 4 years in our local jail in Montgomery County. So we're seeing over 2,000 people a year come into our system, our criminal justice system in Montgomery County, who need immediate mental health care. And right now, as we speak, we've got 16 people in our jail who need to be in a hospital bed but can't be because Clifford Perkins Hospital is full and they're not taking any more patients, and the Secretary of Health in Maryland has said it's a crisis.
Right.
And all the jail administrators are extremely concerned about what they're going to do. Now, our jail administrator is Rob Green, and he has been raising the alarm about this. Mental health courts, which is something that many people have been working on for a long time to bring about in Montgomery County, and Judge DeBelius appointed a task force last year to work on the planning for it and asked me to chair it. We had a great task force. We came up with recommendations. The judges are moving forward. Judge DeBelius and Judge Wolf at the district court have put in for an application for a joint mental health court for Montgomery County that should be approved, we think, in the next few weeks.
It'll be the district court.
It'd be in the district and the circuit.
Okay.
But
the team would work together in supporting both.
The question remains, though. I mean, you can have the mental health court, but unless we have more beds available for them, isn't that's kind of like we've got half the job done.
Well, that is part of it. So there need to be the services available as well in the community. Now, people who are going through mental health court are not going to be in a situation where they have to be in the hospital. In that case, they're not going to be. They'd be suspended from the court while they're recovering. Okay, because they have to be competent to participate in the program. But this is a tool that the justice system needs in order to deal with people who commit mainly low-level offenses because of their mental illness. And if we don't have this, if we didn't do it, we'd see what we've seen in the past, which is people come back through the system again and again because the underlying problem is
that kind of speaks to what I wanted to ask you. So is it really going to be, like, in terms of who goes to mental health court as opposed to who goes to the other court where you're going to be arraigned when you've been arrested, et cetera? Is it just for particular offenses?
Yes.
Or so
it's
only
basically
a
for
range?
low-level offenses. It's basically for things like simple assault, theft, vandalism, disorderly conduct, trespassing,
And how will
not for rape or homicide.
How will that cure the recidivism that you spoke about? That's the
Well, we have
side.
experience in this area, at least other places do, and we're learning from it. There are 3 other jurisdictions in the state that have mental health courts and have had them for years: Prince George's, Hartford, Baltimore City. And all of their mental health court judges came and participated in our process and urged us and gave us advice about how to do it. So we can learn from them and set it up in a way that we think will work well. The recidivism rate goes down with a successful treatment.
So if you go through the mental health court instead of the normal district court, so instead of, all right, we're tossing you in a clink, we're tossing you into a service outpatient somewhere, or is that what we're talking about?
No, it's like drug court in many ways. We've got a very successful drug court in Montgomery County where the judge and the mental health and drug court team in that case work with each individual on a case management plan. Now, drug court is probably a little more standardized than mental health court would be because the conditions are more individualized. So there's an individual treatment plan for each person in mental health court. There's extensive follow-up meetings every week for about the year-long program.
A couple of years ago, I heard the Chief Justice of Ohio talk about the need to get dedicated funding, because you're talking about a much more intense set of services. So what is Montgomery County identifying as the source of funding for this?
Well, we've identified the need first in terms of additional staff, of essentially, to start with in the first year, 2 additional licensed clinical social workers and a court coordinator. A cost of around $400,000 for the first year, which in the scheme of things is not a lot of money. There'll be a lot of in-kind services provided by the state's attorney's office, by the public defender's office, by parole and probation. So we're not anticipating additional staff for those agencies, really just for the case management and
training,
coordination of the court.
And
there'll be training
special training.
well.
So are we bringing
And there'll be dedicated judges. The judges would come from the existing roster, but it would be a judge assigned by the chief administrative judge to do this. This would be their docket.
Who makes the determination as to whether somebody is going to?
That's the last word we got about. We're running out of time, but go ahead.
There's a mental health court team that reviews this and has a evaluation done by a mental health therapist to assess their ability to participate.
Phil, thank you so much. I look forward to this launching. This is really exciting.
It's coming soon.
Okay. Well, I guess maybe the electorate might need a great mental health break coming up on next year's mental health court. Welcome back.
Thank you.
State League, these candidate forums. I don't want to go on. I've moderated legal and voter candidate forums here in Montgomery County on a number of occasions, and I think about how different these are and you've participated in them, Phil, is compared to what we saw during these primaries, especially in the Republican primary, and we continue to see with these candidates. My gosh,
we're not trying to.
Why can't we have you all the time doing these forums?
I think that's a great suggestion. we're not trying to produce theater. That's the difference with
Right.
the league. We're trying to put issues out in front of the public.
What a scary thought.
Yes. Yeah. Actually let people talk about things that are relevant to the office they're running for.
Oh my gosh.
But one of the things is we try to have neutral criteria
Right.
for selecting who participates in the debates, and well, I keep calling them debates. They're forums.
Forums,
Nobody's there debating a proposition or anything, and we're also pretty strict about making sure that it's neutral in selection of questions and
Right.
the order in which the candidates will answer. Do that randomly rather than.
It's very impressive, and comes out even managing large groups. I mean, I think 10 or 12 I've had to do, and the fairness without it being so completely boring, where you're just asking the same. I mean, it's really fascinating.
Well, when you speak to the theater, though, that's one of the things that, and I hear it all the time. The theater aspect of it is actually, the argument is that it's drawing more people into the system, whereas what we're talking about, substance, turns people off. So how do you approach that?
I don't think substance turns people off when you've got hot issues that people really care about. Let's say the grade inflation question. People care about that.
So how do you bring the younger voter in?
Well, I think the younger vote. Well, who knows? Some younger voters may want their grades inflated, but I think people who are
That's
working
pretty
hard,
young.
people who are working hard want that recognized, and so.
Yeah, it's having been. I didn't open this up for question, but having witnessed the elections in many countries around the world, a league-type candidate forum is the norm, where you have, and the whole country stops, and they watch their in front of their TV, watching intelligent discussion, watching the different candidates discuss their policy issues. Why can't we get that here as the norm?
You've got me there. I think that partly our media likes the entertainment value of the way
No,
we do
Your
the
horse
work.
race?
it's not the media that likes it, it's the electorate. You buy, all right, we're selling. If you're not buying, we're going to sell something else. So if the electorate wanted that type of coverage, I guarantee you we'd have it all over the place. The problem is the electorate. You have 10, 20% people turning out to vote. You have people who tune off and tune out from politics. Around the world, people are into the political process, but we've had it so easy in this country for so long, and we take it so much for granted, our democracy. Nobody shows up. We're too busy going to school, too busy getting our kids to soccer practice.
But I do think that there is a difference between with the league, where anybody who is participating in a league forum understands a league is totally nonpartisan. You're dedicated to good government, good policy, etc., as opposed to when Fox News is moderating and that they assume that there's some angle.
Well, that's not a
They
news
assume-
organization, but I agree
Well,
with you.
but they've been
yeah, that's-
moderating
I agree
stuff.
with you,
So,
yeah.
and
But when we
and
moderate
also,
one, we try to follow the same.
Yeah, because you're a professional,
Right.
you're a
Yeah, we're
professional news
trying.
organization.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
As
We've just got about a minute left in this segment.
As opposed to those who are grinding an axe.
Right.
Certainly.
well,
Fox
and I
News is
think
famous
also
for that.
candidates know that networks do. I mean, national networks, they do care about ratings. And so candidates are feeling free, like, well, I'm just not going to participate if you don't change the rules to what I
Well,
I
listen
want,
to
and-
CBS
yeah.
talking about Donald Trump. You may like him, you may dislike him, but he's great for business.
Part of it is how good the moderator is. We need more moderators
Amen.
like
Like
Don
Don
Mooers.
Mooers.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
but
Well,
also the
Gwen
general
Ifill
election
was
versus the
good.
primary, I think, makes a difference too. Yeah, the presidential debates are still very well viewed, and they were influential, and they've been pretty effective, I think. And so I think you get a higher level of discussion and maybe more focus on the issues that concern the most people
got 15
in a
seconds.
general election debate rather than a primary.
I agree with that.
That's
Yeah.
a great point. Great point. We have 10 seconds. What can we expect coming up in the fall with the candidate forums?
We are really hoping to have one for the U.S. Senate, and certainly at the local level in Montgomery County, we're expecting to put on Board of Education and other candidate forums.
Looking forward to them.
Thank
you
you.
very much, and thanks all of you for being here today.
you.
This has been a great show. I want to thank all of you in the viewing audience for joining us for this week's edition of Montgomery Week in Review. I'm Don Mooers, your host, inviting you to join us again next week at this very same time.